Hi, I'm Joe Ferace. Welcome to Joe's Movie Club. Today we're going to do something a little different than a movie review. We're going to take a look at my 16 favorite movies. This was kind of modeled after a Quentin Tarantino video, and I'll put a link below to his where he looked at his 20 favorite movies. And since that covers more than 100 years of movie history, he limited that films that were made since he directed his first movie. Well, I haven't directed any movies, so what I decided to make as my set of parameters was movies that were made after I went to the theater for the first time and saw my first movie. So let's take a look at that list right now. The format that Quentin Tarantino used for his list was he started with picking his #1 favorite film. Then he listed all the others in alphabetical order, and that's what we're going to do today. Next on my list, we go into period stories, and that is Ridley Scott's The Kingdom of Heaven, 2005, especially the director's cut, which I think was shown a couple of times in theaters, but is available on Blu-rays and DVDs. This is a beautiful story of the Crusades. This is the best film that Orlando Bloom ever made in his whole life, maybe ever will make. And it's full of great English actors. The acting is just first class through this whole film. The visuals are stunning. It's a great story, a more or less, I think, true story about the Crusades. And if you wonder why the mess in the Middle East is like it is, this movie pretty much explains where it comes from. There's also an appearance by one of the actors who was in Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. He's early in the film. He shows up a couple times. He shows up in a lot of movies. I'm sorry I don't remember his name. If I dig it up, I'll put it down here. Just a handsome guy. He was the doctor on Deep Space Nine. A great actor. All the acting in this film, the writing, the direction. This is a great movie by Ridley Scott compared to The Last Duel, which is a horrible period movie by Ridley Scott. I advise you not to waste your time with that one. But The Kingdom of Heaven, director's cut, a must-see film. While we're doing epics, let's do epics. Number 10 on my list is inevitable, really. It's Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia was kind of a debut film for Peter O'Toole. He's amazing, and again, the cast in this film is wonderful. Anthony Quinn, Alec Guinness. It's the heartfelt movie. It's a telling of history in a way, and once again, it explains why things are messed up in the, if you pay attention at the end, it's pretty much how they mess things up and that we're dealing with the consequences today. Along the way, they tell a story of T.E. Lawrence, who was a remarkable human being, and how he was sent to the Middle East to engage the Arabs to fight against the Germans during World War I. And how that story is told, and the journey that Lawrence takes. This is based on a book called The Seven Pillars of Wisdom that is about as big as the Manhattan phone book was back in the day when people had phone books. I tried reading it as a young man. I haven't picked up a copy, but it was a big book. And I tried reading it, and I'm not sure. I think he was a better writer than my brain was ready to receive at that time. This is a beautiful movie, heartfelt movie. It will change your life. And speaking of movies that will change your life, coming in at number 11 is the 1962 film of The Manchurian Candidate. This is another film with an amazing cast. It's a black and white film too. Frank Sinatra in his best ever role. Janet Leigh, who breaks your heart in this film. Lawrence Harvey is just incredible as the tortured soul who's brainwashed in Korea and set upon as a weapon to affect U.S. politics. It's a very political film. Angela Lansbury is in this as the most evil mother ever depicted on screen. She was nominated for an Oscar. I don't think she won, but her performance is great. All the little performances are good. Leslie Parrish plays Lawrence Harvey's fiance. Again, in a subtle but heartbreaking performance. This is an amazing film. There are two films when I walked out of the theater, I thought, what the hell? I was like stunned. One was 2001, which I got to see in Cinerama, and the other was The Manchurian Candidate. When I walked out of that theater in 1962, it was like, it really affected me. It was one of my most powerful movie-going experiences. And maybe today it may not be so much, especially when you watch it on TV, no matter how big your screen might be. It's a powerful movie by just one of my favorite directors, John Frankenheimer, who's made some incredible movies over his life. But this is one of his earliest films, and it's just, well, it's a masterpiece. Keeping a little bit with the military theme, my number 12 favorite film is The Right Stuff, which is the 1983 film that unfortunately suffers from a really bad Blu-ray transfer. I'm really hoping that somebody sometime will make a good version of this on 4K. So this is a film by Philip Kaufman that Phil was kind of enamored by the subjects while he was writing the script, and he kind of plays a little loose with some of the facts, but the core of the film are the astronauts themselves, the original Mercury astronauts, and you have Ed Harris and you have Sam Shepard as Chuck Yeager. This is a great film. It has a great cast with a great story. Jeff Goldblum is in it too. He has kind of a small part that he kind of pops up from now and then to act as kind of a Greek chorus along with another actor. I can't remember his name. I'll put it down here. This is a great story. Again, mostly facts, a true story. Is that a theme here? Am I getting a theme in this list? I don't know. I don't have an affection for nonfiction films, or documentary films, but anyway, The Right Stuff is a great movie. It's fun. It's clever. It's real. Even if you have to watch the crappy Blu-ray transfer, it's still a great movie to see. Number 13 on my list is The Shawshank Redemption, a wonderful 1984 film by Frank Darabont that really didn't get much attention when it was released because people thought, well, it's a prison movie. He wants to see a prison movie. That's how I feel about boxing movies, by the way. That's why I haven't seen any of the new Creed films or any. Been there, done that. Saw Rocky 1. That was enough. The Shawshank Redemption. You got Morgan Freeman. You got Tim Robbins, and a wonderful, heartfelt story about a wrongly accused. I think he's wrongly accused anyway. The guy who goes to prison and how he plots his escape. Along the way, you meet a lot of interesting characters, including James Whitmore in a heartbreaking performance of a guy who, according to Morgan Freeman's character, was institutionalized. But it's everything you don't think a prison movie could be. It's not Escape from Alcatraz. This is a clever, funny, amusing, based on a short story by Stephen King. Try to get whatever copy you can get of this movie because it's a minor masterpiece. 2007 Sunshine by Danny Boyle is another minor classic, a mini masterpiece that features a very diverse group of actors, including Cillian Murphy, who's the Scarecrow in Batman movies, Chris Evans, who's Captain America, Michelle Yeoh, who just won an Oscar for an amazing performance in a movie I thought was highly overrated. But together, they go on a mission to restart the sun because it's been dimming, and they want to shoot some bombs at it to kickstart it and save the Earth from freezing into a big iceberg. Now, a ship had gone ahead of them to do that, but was never heard from again. So that's the subplot. This is a movie that, in many ways, has the gravitas of 2001, but at the same time, whereas the characters in 2001, the few characters there are in the film, once we get onto the ship for the journey to Jupiter, are kind of stoic, whereas this is a passionate crew and there's conflicts and it's a very diverse crew. There's all kinds of nationalities because this is a joint Earth mission to kickstart the sun. It has elements of horror. It has elements of eloquence. If you haven't seen Sunshine, and I'm betting you haven't, you really should pick up a copy. That's another movie I would really like to see in 4K. So we're getting down to the end now, number 15. And how could you not have Vertigo, a 1958 film by Alfred Hitchcock? This is truly the best of the Hitchcock films, Hitchcock American films. I have sentimental feelings about Saboteur, which is a movie I really like that's very Hitchcockian. Vertigo is not as Hitchcockian, except with it being about obsession. And I think everybody knows about this. Is Kim Novak is incredible in the movie. This is another Jimmy Stewart movie. He's incredible in this film. The cinematography is excellent. The music's great. This is a classic mystery wrapped up in a story of obsession, and which happens to be the topic of the next film. If you don't have Vertigo, it should be in everybody's movie collection. And here's the ultimate film about obsession. My number 16 is Zodiac, the director's cut, because this is a long, sprawling story, and only the director's cut really gives you all of the nuance. This is David Fincher's masterpiece, with performances that it's hard to believe. You have Jake Gyllenhaal, who's really good as the cartoonist who gets involved in the Zodiac murder case. Robert Downey Jr. as one of the writers at the newspaper where Jake Gyllenhaal is the cartoonist. And then Mark Ruffalo in an early performance, before he was the Hulk, as a detective who becomes obsessed, as do all these men along the way. And that seems to be a theme that runs through a lot of unsolved mysteries, that people get obsessed about the case. And it ultimately leads to Gyllenhaal's character's divorce. There's a lot of great stuff in this. Fincher is never better. He was obsessed with the details. The Corvair that the first victim drives in the beginning of the film is the actual car that woman was killed in. The actual car. That's obsessive. But, you don't need to know that to enjoy this film. And this is just a textbook case of a case that goes on and on. And it's really never really resolved. There's kind of a ending that Gyllenhaal's character puts on to the film that may or may not be true. If you read my blog post on Joe's book club, I have a book review coming up about a book called Black Dahlia, Red Rose, another historical mystery where the murder was never solved, and a obsession of the people involved in the case. And that's what happens with Zodiac here. Zodiac is a spectacular looking film. Fincher never spares the vision that he has in making this simple, though many of the shots may be. It's different than Seven, which I also really love. They're my two favorite Fincher films. Seven is full of mood and rain, and it's intense. Zodiac is slow moving. It unfolds. It's funny at times. It's introspective at times. This is a fabulous film. You owe it to yourself to see the Zodiac director's cut. And so that's my 16 favorite films. Let me know what yours are in the comments below. So what's coming up next on Joe's Movie Club? Well, I'm pretty excited because the number one thing that's coming up is the Maltese Falcon in 4K. And you can see the trailer running behind me for the 4K edition of this classic film. I'm really excited about this since it's part two of what I consider the trilogy of classic Bogart films from this era. Also, we're going to be taking a look at what I consider the best of the Star Trek Next Generation films. and that's First Contact. This is the 4K edition, and I'm really looking forward to taking a look at it. So anyway, that's what's coming up next. The Maltese Falcon in 4K and Star Trek First Contact. So stay tuned, coming at you real soon. And if you can find it in your heart to give this little video a thumbs up, and maybe if you have a comment or question about any of the movies that I suggested on this top 16 list, my top 16 list, then please drop them below, because all of this makes the algorithm work better for me, and maybe it'll direct 2 or 3 more people to this little corner of the internet where I talk about movies and a lot of other crazy stuff too. So thanks for watching. See you again real soon.